Good evening, everyone. My name is Sam, and I am the Clean BC Community Energy Coach. Our program supports communities, local governments, and industry stakeholders in the promotion of the Clean BC rebate programs and education of heat pumps. We are also joined today by my colleague, Elena, who will be presenting for you. This webinar will be recorded. Today is July 6, 2021, and all rebate amounts are reflective of what is available today. For the most up-to-date information on rebates, please visit betterhomesbc.ca. I encourage everyone to use the chat box during the presentation. I'll be monitoring the chat and do my best to answer your questions along the way. And we'll also have a short Q&A period at the end of the presentation as well. We would like to acknowledge with respect the Coast and Strait Salish and Wassanic peoples on whose traditional unceded territory we are presenting today, and the Lekwungen, Songhees, Esquimalt, and Wassanic, whose historical relationship with the land continue to this day. I'd also like to invite everyone to acknowledge the traditional territory you are joining us on today. And with that, I'll pass things off to Ellie.
Yeah, welcome everyone to the Considering a Heat Pump webinar. I'm really excited to be presenting for you today. My name is Elena, and first of all, I would like to thank you for taking a chunk out of your busy days to learn more about heat pumps. So I hope this will be super informative for you today. Like Sam said, we will have a Q&A period at the end, so either put your questions in the chat box or you can also unmute yourself at the end. All right, what are we going to cover today? Quite a lot. First of all, I would like to talk about what a heat pump is, how it works, what kind of heat pumps are most common in BC here, benefits, why are we so excited about heat pumps, things you should know before you buy a heat pump, things you should know after you buy a heat pump. I want to share a little bit of, just things that people have to say that have a heat pump installed. Of course, we will talk about the rebates available, which will be quite a big chunk, different programs that are out there currently. And then I would like to introduce the Clean BC Energy Coach service to you, which is an amazing resource for learning more or, getting more informed if you get stuck along the way. So before we even start talking about heat pumps, I want to touch on a really, really important concept, the house as a system approach. Because before we think about getting a new heat pump or a new water heater, anything like that installed, it's super important to realize that our house works as a system and each component affects another component when we change it. So for instance, before you think about getting a heat pump installed or any new heating system, you really have to take a good look at your building envelope. You want to make sure that your house is well insulated and airtight and has great windows, because otherwise, if you just get a new heat pump installed in a very leaky home that's poorly insulated, you will lose all this heat just to the exterior of the home, and your heat pump can be the most efficient heat pump, but it won't really help you achieve your climate goals or lower your energy bills. Therefore, we always recommend starting with an EnerGuide home evaluation. You might have heard about that. It's an unbiased service where an energy advisor comes to your home and assesses your whole home from an energy efficiency perspective. They create an energy model and they create a customized, unbiased, basically roadmap for your home with all the upgrades you should prioritize first. But we're here for heat pumps today. So what is that heat pump system and what makes it so special? So first of all, in BC, the heat pumps that are used here, they use electricity to either heat or cool a home. So that's one of the great aspects. They can provide heating and air conditioning in the summer then. Heat pumps are also the most energy efficient heating system that is currently available worldwide. They're about 3 to 4 times as energy efficient as the most efficient gas furnace or as electric baseboards. And in BC, we are fortunate that our electricity almost entirely comes from hydro power. That means that in BC, heat pumps are also the most climate-friendly way to heat your home. Some of you may or may not know that you already have a heat pump at home. Almost everyone has a heat pump at home, and you might have guessed it right. Your refrigerator at home actually functions basically like a heat pump. So really, it's an insulated box that has a type of heat pump inside. The refrigerator has refrigerant lines inside, which gives it the name. And that refrigerant is very, I'd call it sensitive. So it absorbs heat at very low temperatures. So it will absorb the heat energy in your fridge. And then it uses a compressor that sits in there to pump that heat up to a higher level and basically dumps it to the inside of your home. So I know we all kind of try to avoid taking a look at what's behind our fridge in our house, but if you ever do, you will notice that there's warm air coming out. And that is basically this heat pump in your fridge, removing heat from the inside to the outside of the fridge and therefore cooling your vegetables and produce. So a heat pump works very similar. Here we got the outside of the house. Here we got the inside of a house. And this is a common type of heat pump called a central system heat pump. So in here is that refrigerant line. And the refrigerant in here absorbs heat from the ambient outdoor air. So like I said, the refrigerant boils at a very low temperature. So even on cold winter days, there's still enough heat energy in the air that is absorbed by the refrigerant. And then in this outdoor unit, there is a compressor that basically pumps that refrigerant temperature up to a higher level, makes it extremely hot and compressed, and then transports it into your home where it is distributed through ductwork, just like your gas furnace or an oil furnace would do. And on the other hand, it works in the cooling mode as well. So let's say it's summer and it's really hot and humid in your home. So you can just, with a remote control or this control panel, you can just reverse the cycle of the heat pump. And now the refrigerant in your home is absorbing the heat from your home, just like the refrigerator does, and transports it to the outside of the home. The compressor pumps it up to a higher temperature level and basically dumps that heat to the exterior of the home. And that removes all the heat from your home and the humidity as well. Okay, so we just saw one of the heat pump types. We call it a central system. It usually has kind of a larger box like in this picture here, and then it is connected through ductwork throughout the entire house. So very suitable for homes that already have ductwork. And then there is another type of heat pump that is very commonly used in BC. And that, oh, sorry, I forgot about this one. There is another type of central heat pump, but in this case, it's a dual fuel central heat pump. So those central system heat pumps can come as an all-electric heat pump system where it either has an electric resistance heat backup, so kind of like a normal electric furnace for really just the super coldest days where the normal heat pump doesn't quite cut it. Or in a case of a dual fuel heat pump, you have a fossil fuel or more commonly a natural gas or propane furnace as a backup that really only kicks on when it's too cold for the heat pump. So there is sometimes a little bit of a misconception that the temperature or the climate of the lower mainland is too cold for heat pumps to operate by themselves. That is a misconception. The temperature and the climate on the lower mainland and on Vancouver Island are very suitable for heat pumps. They can, the refrigerants are very good nowadays. They can absorb heat at very low temperatures. And even on the very coldest days, it often comes with an electric backup system that can then cover those 5, 6 days in the winter. All right, So the other type of heat pump that I was going to talk about was a ductless or mini split heat pump. So it works the exact same way as a central system. It has an outdoor unit that absorbs heat, has a compressor in there that pumps it up to a higher level and transports it to the inside of your home. But instead of having a big air handler with ductwork throughout the entire home, it comes with these indoor heads. You've probably seen them before. They look like air conditioning units. They're usually mounted on the top of the wall and they provide zonal heating. There are also ductless or mini split heat pumps that are partially ducted or fully ducted with mini ducts in the attics. So there's all kinds of configurations. And I just want to compare the both units and what type of homes they are most suitable for. I do want to say you should always consult a contractor. While there are types of homes that are more suitable for one and more suitable for the other type of heat pump, it's always a good idea to have a contractor visit your house and see what makes most sense for your specific home. So in terms of those two different heat pump systems, they both provide heating and air conditioning. Only ductless heat pumps provide zonal heating, which means only in specific spots. The central system heat pump is the only one that requires ductwork throughout the house, gives it the name central system. And a lot of people don't know that heat pumps actually provide air filtration and dehumidification as well. So let's talk about the central systems. They are really ideal for homes that have a need for central heating. Some people really like to have the same temperature in the whole house, and obviously homes that already have pre-existing ductwork, such as homes that had a natural gas furnace. Also, central system heat pumps provide air filtration that's a little bit more effective than the ductless heat pumps. But on the other hand, ductless heat pumps can be a really, really great option for homes that don't have any pre-existing ductwork. So that's homes that have electric baseboards or electric baseboards and a wood stove. Homes that are smaller, such as a more open concept mobile home, for example, or a smaller open concept home. They are also suitable for really old homes. Sometimes the ductwork from an old oil furnace is in really rough shape, is kind of leaky, and wouldn't really be suitable for a central system heat pump. Or some people also value ductless heat pumps because they really like the option of zonal heating. So for instance, they have a basement suite and they want to give the people down there the option to heat their part of the home differently than upstairs. So one question that we get all the time is, of course, the cost of a heat pump versus a gas furnace. So I do want to talk about that, but please let me quickly make this clear. All this information here comes from some data we have received through a rebate program. However, the range of the cost data that we received was extremely broad. So there were heat pumps that started as low as $3,000, and then there were heat pumps that were well over $20,000. So you see that the cost can range significantly. And what we're displaying here is the higher end of the average cost range. So it's really only an average. So take that with a grain of salt. Definitely get multiple quotes. I just want to put that out there. So from that data, we kind of saw that a typical gas furnace costs around $8,000. Currently, there's a $1,000 rebate. So you see the cost after rebates here. And then we have the central and ductless heat pumps. And like I said, the higher end of the average cost was around $12,000. Could be much lower, could be much higher. At the moment, there are really amazing rebates out there. We will talk much more about the rebates later on, but that can significantly reduce the cost. And together with municipal top-ups that might be available in your area, that can really make a heat pump very, very comparable to a gas furnace. Okay, I touched on a lot of those things, but I want to explain to you why we get so excited about heat pumps. So just to summarize it, you get year-round comfort. We've all been through this heat wave lately, and they provide heating and cooling. You get the most climate-friendly home that you could possibly have in British Columbia. It is the most energy efficient heating system that is available. The air filtration provides a healthier home, and you pay no carbon tax on your energy bill. So let's take a look at that. Some people are a little bit confused when we say that a heat pump can be 300 or 400% efficient. How is that even possible? So we explain it this way. If you have the outside of your home, and then this is the inside of your home, I'll explain that in a second. But for example, if you have a natural gas furnace, that is 99% efficient, which is the most efficient one you can get. It will turn 99% of the energy that is in the natural gas into heat energy. So only 1% is lost, which is very good. However, what a heat pump does, it operates differently. Instead of generating heat from scratch, so to speak, it uses heat energy that is already in the ambient air outdoors. Even on cold winter days, there's a lot of heat energy left, and it absorbs that heat energy. And then it's only the compressor and the pump that adds extra electricity to pump it up to a higher temperature level. So by only paying and inputting 1 kilowatt in this case here, you get a heat output of 3 kilowatts, but you only pay for 1, basically. So that is what makes a heat pump such a genius system and so energy efficient. For those of you who heat with electricity, it's definitely the most cost-effective electric heating option because it is, it's the most efficient heating system you could possibly have. And that combined with upgrades such as insulation or windows and doors, even if you heat with natural gas, which is still comparatively lower, the cost of natural gas than electricity currently, there are many homes where they actually end up having lower energy bills than if they ended up heating with a gas furnace that is only 99% efficient. So I know I'm talking to a climate group, so I know that climate change is something that is on your minds. This graphic here, this picture, is from a publication from the Capital Regional District. So they took the same kind of home and modeled it with an oil furnace, a gas furnace, and a heat pump and compared the greenhouse gas emissions, the CO2 emissions in this case. And obviously, we all know that oil is not a very great heating system. It's inefficient and it also has a significant impact on climate change. We have the same home that was modeled with a gas furnace, still significant CO2 emissions. And then we got the heat pump. In comparison to a gas furnace, you can absolutely cut your greenhouse gas emissions by a lot, and heating and cooling is a huge contributor to greenhouse gas emissions in homes and in, overall greenhouse gas emissions in British Columbia. So heat pumps, like I said, they provide air filtration and humidity control, which helps rid your home of indoor pollutants, dust, pollen. Unfortunately, we are experiencing more and more forest fires every year. We're expecting that to be the case this year as well. So a heat pump can really help keeping your home nice and healthy, and having a better indoor air quality. Like I said, specifically now we get a lot of questions about cooling because those were some really hot days we've experienced. Was it? Yeah, I think it was last week. And Heat pumps are a two-in-one system. You not only use it for heating in the winter, it also provides air conditioning in the summer. And all those I know who had a heat pump in the last few weeks, they've been telling me how much that's helped them. We will talk a little bit more about how to operate a heat pump properly, but it is very low maintenance, super efficient, and it uses the set it and forget it system that I'm gonna talk about a little bit later today. This is, of course, only the case for mini split ductless heat pumps because they provide zonal heating. So some homes, they have an in-law or basement suite. They want to give their tenants the chance to heat their place different, or some people really like to sleep in colder bedrooms but like to heat up their living room. So you have lots of different options if you have a mini split heat pump, and you can have an indoor head in one place and then maybe another one in a different place, or just electric baseboards in the odd bedroom. It is a very flexible type of heating system. And since I'm talking to a climate group, I think that's probably the case for a lot of you. We have these testimonials here from a different program, Ted and Carol from Saanich. And for them, for example, it's really important to live in a home that is ready for the future. So they wanted to have solar panels on the roof. They wanted to have an electric vehicle, but it was also really important to them to heat their home as climate friendly as possible. And by heating your home with electricity in British Columbia, you can cut your greenhouse gas emissions significantly and make your home more ready for the future. Okay, I hope I convinced you that heat pumps are really great. So here are some things we would like you to know before you get a heat pump. First of all, it is always highly recommended that you get your heat pump through a qualified installer. I will show you later where you can find contractors who are well trained, and avoid buying your heat pump wholesale. Quality installers will only install products they know about. So yeah, hiring a contractor is definitely the first and most important step. And we always recommend to obtain multiple quotes from different contractors to compare cost, to compare availability, to compare their knowledge level about rebates out there, all these things. There's great resources on the Better Homes BC website about hiring a contractor and asking the right questions. The house as a system is the one that I addressed in the very beginning. So before you buy a heat pump, please consider having that energy evaluation for your home. Buying a heat pump blindly without having a well-insulated home that's nice and airtight is kind of counterproductive almost. And then it is important to select a heat pump that is properly sized for your home, designed for your climate. You won't necessarily need a cold climate heat pump in the lower mainland, but you could get one. And also a heat pump that was chosen with the right kind of backup heating system, if it even requires one. So once you have bought your heat pump, there's a few things you need to know about a heat pump because they do work a little bit different than other heating systems. Our first operation tip is set it and forget it. Um, a lot of people who call the Energy Coach service tell us that their contractors might not really have explained how to operate their heat pump properly. But in really cold weather, the best practice is to actually set your thermostat to your preferred temperature level and then leave it there. Believe it or not, but heat pumps work the most energy efficient if you don't fiddle around with them, if you don't turn them off. A lot of people turn them off in the morning and they leave the house and then turn it on when they come home. But heat pumps take quite a while to get to their temperature level, but then they kind of chug along and work super efficiently. So it's a good idea to find your temperature level that you prefer and leave it there. The other thing is to set your thermostat to whatever you feel comfortable with. A lot of people who switch to a heat pump, they are used to, for example, the heat of a gas furnace, which feels a little bit different because gas furnaces, for example, they kick on and then they have these intermittent blasts of hot air. And a lot of people are used to that. So when they get a heat pump, like I said, it gets to its temperature level and then it runs very continuously and efficiently. But because it doesn't turn off and then come on and blast hot air, to some, it feels like cooler heat that is coming out of the ducts or of the indoor units. That doesn't mean that a heat pump doesn't heat your home to 21 degrees. It's just the actual air that's coming out might feel a little bit cooler in comparison. So some people in the transition period, they set their thermostat maybe to 1 or 2 degrees higher to feel a hotter blast of air coming out. Heat pumps are fairly low maintenance, but regularly check the manufacturer's manual, even though nobody likes to read manuals. Clean the indoor filters of dust and pollen regularly, especially after weeks of forest fires, for example. Check the batteries and the remote control for a mini split heat pump. And seasonally, it's just important, in the spring and in the fall to clear the outdoor unit of any debris, leaves, snow, dirt. And annually, you should just call your installer and ask for a servicing appointment, making sure that everything's fine with the refrigerant and that everything is just installed properly still. So what you can expect after the installation, like I said, no more intermittent blasts of hot air. You will expect changes to your hydro bill. So for those of you who heat your home with electricity, now you're going to have a much more efficient electric heating system. So you should be using a lot less electricity. So that will lower your hydro bills. For those of you who have not heated with electricity before, now you're using electricity. So your hydro bill will obviously be higher, especially if you use the cooling in the summer as well. However, that will be offset by not paying for a gas or an oil bill. Noise is a concern for many. However, heat pumps do make some noise, just like a fridge or a gas furnace does. However, nowadays, the heat pumps that are installed nowadays, they are very, very quiet, much quieter than those old heat pumps that were first installed. Many heat pumps come with sound ratings, and a lot of municipalities also have bylaws. So they clearly regulate where a heat pump can be installed in a yard, not under a bedroom window. And heat pump contractors are also well trained to pick a spot that's suitable to put the heat pump. There's actually a really great resource from the city of Vancouver that kind of talks about myth busting the noise issues with heat pumps. So we have linked that in this presentation. Okay, so there was a program in 2018. It was called the Oil to Heat Pump Program. And that was a program basically for people to switch from oil to a heat pump, and they got an incentive for that. When that program was over, there was a survey of all the successful participants, and 97% of those people who participated in the program, they said that they would install a heat pump again if they moved to a different house. So very satisfied. And 81%, even though they didn't heat with electricity beforehand, were satisfied or even happy with their energy bills after the heat pump was installed. Of course, we wanted to know why people installed a heat pump. And in terms of oil, a lot found that replacing oil heating to be a really important factor. There's a risk of oil spills, and it's just kind of an archaic system. And of course, a lot of people wanted to move away from oil because it is not a climate-friendly heating system at all, and they wanted to live in a more climate-friendly home. Right, I'm gonna take a sip of water before we tackle the rebates. Okay, I know a lot of you are very interested in all the rebates that are available. As Sam said in the beginning, the rebates that we're displaying in this webinar are as of today. So if you are watching this in a few months, then definitely visit the website that we introduce at the end for most up-to-date information. I also want to say all the rebates that we are about to discuss it is a lot of information. It can be quite overwhelming, and I'm really only touching on the rebates available. So don't worry if you get overwhelmed by this information. We will introduce you to the Energy Coach service, who you can always call with all your questions about the rebates. But yeah, I just wanted to say that in advance. First of all, here is the website that I highly recommend visiting. It is the Clean BC Better Homes program. That's betterhomesbc.ca. And that is a government-funded program provincially that is the main information hub for energy efficiency upgrades and rebates in BC, but also federally. And we have a rebate search tool. Oops, sorry. We have a rebate search tool on this website where I will show you how that works in a second. And you can find all kinds of rebates there. You can find FAQs about how heat pumps work. You can find contractors on here, energy advisors, and you can contact the Clean BC Energy Coach service. So though that's a team of very well-trained individuals who know all about the rebates out there. They know exactly how to get you started, answer your questions about where to find a contractor, energy advisor. They can send you information about the heat pump rebates. So it's going to be much easier for you to navigate that. You can contact them by a toll-free phone number, and they also have an email address, ask@betterhomesbc.ca. So I just talked about the rebate search tool. I highly recommend using that. In the rebate search tool, you will be asked to select renovating a home. Then you can type in your location. So for example, Richmond. And then you have to select how your home is currently heated. That's just important because some rebates are only available for certain type of heating systems, and that will narrow it down for you because you will get a long list of rebates you can access, and there's also a filter option if you're looking for insulation rebates specifically or window rebates. Each rebate on here has its own page that outlines exactly what the eligibility requirements are, what the application steps are, what the deadlines are. So that makes it very handy. So I want to talk about the provincial program first and the general heat pump eligibility. Just gonna briefly go over this. Basically, heat pumps have to be installed in an eligible home, which means single family, side by side, a duplex. That just means that high-rise condos or multi-unit residential buildings aren't eligible for this program. And then you also, the rebates cannot exceed the cost of the heat pump upgrade. Not every heat pump qualifies. I think some people believe that, but the heat pump has to meet certain energy efficiency standards and has to be on a qualifying product list. Yeah, that's basically the most important part. And now I'm going to show the different rebate amounts that are available today for different kinds of heating systems that you're replacing. So really the type of heating system you have now is important in order to know how much you will get back. So in this scenario, you are electrically heated, so electric baseboards, electric furnace. At the moment, provincially, you cannot get a rebate if you're replacing an existing heat pump. And those rebates are paid out by BC Hydro. So BC Hydro has a requirement that you first have to check your electricity consumption using this tool here. It's pretty simple. You just have to use your BC Hydro account number and your square footage of your home. And then the tool will tell you if you qualify for this rebate. That's only the case if your home is electrically heated. You can disregard all this complex information, but really the important part is that if you install a mini split heat pump with one or multiple indoor heads, you get a $1,000 rebate switching from electricity. If you install a central system heat pump with ductwork throughout the whole house, you get a $2,000 rebate. Wood heated homes is the exact same scenario. However, so I'm not sure how many of you have a wood stove and electric baseboards. Those individuals are sometimes a little bit confused, thinking, well, am I wood heated or electrically heated? In that case, if you're wondering, you can always just use this this tool from BC Hydro, this consumption tool. And if you meet the requirements, then you're automatically considered electrically heated. But if you fail the tool, you are considered to be heated with wood. So that's kind of just the difference. But the rebate amounts are the same as for electrically heated homes. And then we got homes that are previously heated with fossil fuel. The rebates are a little bit higher because they are contributing to BC's climate targets of moving away from a fossil fuel. So by fossil fuel, we mean oil, gas, or propane. And all the heat pump rebates conveniently are $3,000. So regardless whether you install a mini split or a dual fuel heat pump with gas backup or a normal central system all electric heat pump. There's a few more. So for the central systems, I showed you the all electric ones. Oh, here it is. It's $3,000. We call it tier 2 because it's high efficiency. There's also a tier 1 version of it which the efficiency is a little bit lower and the rebate therefore is also a little bit lower, $1,200. I haven't talked about air to water heat pumps at all because they are less common in BC, but it's the exact same thing as the ones we discussed. But instead of passing on the heat energy to air that's distributed through ducts, it just passes on the heat energy to water that's then distributed through radiators or in-floor heating. It's basically the same thing, just less common. And that one is $3,000. For those types of heat pumps, are versions that can both provide space and domestic water heating for showering and everything. So the rebate is higher than that because it's kind of an all-in-one system. And we will talk about that in a second. For upgrading your electric service, there is a $500 rebate. I'll talk about that in a second though. We are not focusing on water heaters today, but for switching to a heat pump water heater, which is the exact same thing as a heat pump, but it heats your domestic hot water, you can also get a rebate regardless of what your previous water heater was, electric or fossil fuel, it's $1,000. And like I just said, so for some homes that don't have an electric heating system yet, they don't have the electrical capacity to support an electric heating system. So a lot of them need to upgrade their panel, which can be quite costly. So there is a $500 rebate if you upgrade your electric panel together with getting a heat pump. It's kind of a bundle rebate. And it's $500, and in many municipalities, there's top-ups available. I know that was a lot, so those were all the rebates provincially, but there is also an alternative if you don't want to pay upfront for the heat pump and then get a rebate. As an alternative, there is a low interest financing program offered. So that is only available for folks who switch from a fossil fuel to a heat pump, not for electric heating. And the way it works is you get 0 or 4.99% financing over 5 years, which is pretty fantastic. It depends on the efficiency of the heat pump, and the loans are between $1,000 and $40,000. I'm sure it's clear, but you can only access either the rebate or the financing option, but not both. And all the extra programs that are available that I'm going to talk about now, they are also available for the financing option. Okay, so here is the group purchase rebate, and I think Sam will talk a little bit more about that later because I think one of your group members has started a group. So the group purchase rebate is also for folks who switch from a fossil fuel like gas, propane, or oil to a heat pump. And when you get together as a group of people who all install a heat pump around the same time frame, everyone can get an extra rebate on top. So if you have a group of 2 to 4 homes and you install a heat pump, everyone gets the normal heat pump rebate of $3,000, but also everyone in the group gets $200 on top. If you manage to get a group of 15 to 19 homes, then everyone gets $425 on top. So that is definitely a really great option, especially for folks like you. And yeah, Sam, did you want to talk about that now? The group that was started, or in the very end?
What I was going to do is share the code in the chat.
Okay.
But yeah, the only other thing with GPR that I can mention quickly here is that if you guys are currently in the process of planning a heat pump install, that's generally the best time to register for the GPR using a code because they are active for 90 days. So you do have to use an active code in your rebate application. So if you are in the very early stages of planning a heat pump install, perhaps not until early fall or even late fall, it might be too early to register for a code now as it might expire by the time you're ready to apply for your rebate. So just something to keep in mind. The codes do have the expiry date right in there so that you can see how long it's active for. And I'll post the one started by the Maple Ridge Climate Hub in the group chat as well.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah. So navigating all these rebates again can be sometimes a little bit challenging, especially with all the different deadlines involved. So that is why I really want to emphasize calling an energy coach. That really, really helps people get through the process because it's a good thing that there's so many incentives out there, but it's also sometimes really hard to navigate. So I'm going to leave the energy coach contact information in the very end. And there are municipalities that have municipal top-ups, which is really fantastic. So basically, the provincial rebate program collaborates with certain municipalities that want to sign up. And those municipalities offer automatic top-ups for their residents when they apply for instance, heat pump rebates. So for the Lower Mainland, these are the current municipalities that participated. And for example, if someone lives in the city of North Vancouver and they switch from a fossil fuel to a heat pump, they not only get the $3,000 rebate, they also automatically get $2,000 on top, which can make a huge difference. This is also only available for homes that fossil fuel switch, not for electrically heated homes go into a heat pump. And it's on a first come, first served basis. So every municipality provides a certain pool of funding, and once it runs out, it's run out. They also, so for example, City of Vancouver and City of North Vancouver currently have those top-ups for the electric service upgrade rebate. So they could get an additional $500. And and so on. There's also top-ups for EnerGuide home evaluations. So that can all really help. Okay. A very common question we get is how to find a contractor. And on the Clean BC Better Homes website, we have a contractor search tool. So this is what it looks like. It's betterhomesbc.ca/PRC, which stands for Program Registered Contractor, but you can also find it through the menu button. And you just have to select heat pump from a list, and then you can just type in your location like Maple Ridge, and then you hit submit, and you get a randomized list of contractors that service your area. And those contractors are listed because they went through additional rebate program training. So the contractors that are on there, you should be able to trust to that they know their stuff about the heat pump rebates, how, what the qualifying product list is, what kinds of information needs to be on the invoice, and so on, and the deadlines. So that is usually a really great place to get started finding a contractor. But just so you know, you don't have to work with any of those contractors on the list to get a rebate. It just means that they went and got additional training. That's why they're listed. For the financing program, it's a little bit different. There is the same search tool just for finance registered contractors. That's only for the low interest financing program. And if you are interested in a low interest financing program, you have to work with a finance registered contractor because it basically all goes through the contractors. So they have to be part of the program. But it basically it works the same way. It's just betterhomesbc.ca/FRC for finance registered contractor. All right, we're done with the provincial programs. And since end of May, there has been the federal program, the Canada Greener Homes program. And yeah, so that caused quite a stir. A lot of rebates out there for this program. So we're going to go over it, but there's still a lot to learn about it. We are still familiarizing ourselves with it, and there's a little bit more clarification that we're seeking. But it launched on May 27th. The federal government offers up to $5,000 for upgrades. Heat pumps are part of it. And you can also get $600 towards Energuide home evaluations. So if someone wants to participate in this federal program, they have to register in the homeowner portal of that program. And other than the provincial one that doesn't care, or I shouldn't say that doesn't care, that doesn't require Energuide home evaluations, the federal program requires you to get an evaluation before you install upgrades and after install upgrades. So if you wanted to get both the provincial and the federal programs, you definitely have to get an evaluation beforehand and after doing renovations. Your one big item that I hope a lot of people will see is that for the federal program, your home must be your primary residence. So if you're the homeowner, you must live in that home. If it's a rental property, you cannot participate in the federal program. Again, provincially, that doesn't matter at all, but federally, that's a requirement. And I just mentioned it, you can both get the federal and the provincial rebates, which is amazing, up to 100% of the total cost of your upgrade, of course. So for specific program information, such as the exact requirements for heat pump installation, call the Greener Homes program hotline. That's the hotline. Or they have quite a mouthful of an email address because it's in French and in English. I'm not going to read it out loud, but this is the email address of the program. And there may be some of you who already had an Energuide home evaluation recently or last year. So in order to participate in the program, if you had your evaluation before last April, so that's April 2020, in order to participate, you would need to get a new one. But for those folks who had their evaluation between April 1st, 2020 and November 30th, 2020, you can use your evaluation for the $5,000 grant for heat pumps, for example, but you can't get the rebate for the EnerGuide evaluation itself. But then for all evaluations that were conducted on December 1st last year until now, they can get the grant and they can get the EnerGuide home evaluation rebate. All right, where to get started? So if you're looking to access all the rebates that are out there, like I said, definitely start with an EnerGuide home evaluation. Not only do you get that energy evaluation that is highly recommended before doing renovations regardless, you also make sure that you have an energy advisor in your house who knows about the rebates. And you also ensure that you can get both provincial and federal rebates. Where to find an energy advisor is on that same website, betterhomesbc.ca/EA for energy advisor. And again, you can just find it in the menu button as well. And you can just select that you're renovating a home and type in Maple Ridge, and it will pop down a list of energy advisors in your area that you can, again, compare, get a few different quotes. For the federal program, you then have to register in that portal to get the whole federal process started. Yeah, so both provincial and federal rebate programs have their own set of requirements, of course. So be sure before you install any upgrade, review all the requirements on that Better Homes BC website. And if it gets overwhelming, which it might, call an energy coach, send an email, and talk to your energy advisor so you make sure that you get all the rebates out there. So in terms of deadlines, so the Clean BC rebates, which are the provincial ones, they all have a 6 months deadline to apply from evaluation date for the evaluation rebates or invoice date for all the upgrades, such as a heat pump. So from your heat pump invoice, you have 6 months to apply. For the federal program, we've actually asked directly because we couldn't quite believe it. There is currently no deadline at the moment. That might change in the future, but at the moment, there is no deadline to complete your upgrades or complete your post-retrofit evaluation. But again, if you want to access both programs, definitely, follow those 6 months. Yeah, best practice is to follow the Clean BC 18 months between a pre and a post retrofit evaluation. Because Clean BC, the provincial rebates, they have some bonuses where you need the evaluation. And that is an 18 months deadline to do from the first one to do the second one. So it is best practice to just kind of try to get all your renovations in within a year and a half. And yeah, don't forget to review the system requirements for each upgrade. So in our case today, the heat pump system requirements. And again, that also starts with the contractor. Really choose a contractor who is going the extra mile to learn about all the different rebates out there. Okay, that was an insane amount of information, especially with those two programs. So like I said, please don't be shy to contact the Clean BC Energy Coach service. They can definitely help you along the way. It's this toll-free phone number and ask@betterhomesbc.ca. For the provincial programs, you can also, for the BC Hydro funded ones, call BC Hydro. And for natural gas programs through FortisBC, you can always call FortisBC. But really, the Clean BC Energy Coach service is the information hub in BC to learn about all the different programs out there. I'm not going to leave it at this slide. I'm actually going to hop back to this one so you can write down the information, but that's basically it. Thank you so much for your attention tonight. And yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself now. Sam, I'm going to let you navigate different
Definitely.
questions.
Thank you, Ellie. Yeah, and before we hop into questions, I'd like to open it up to Kirk and Jessica with the Climate Hub
Oh yeah.
groups. Just to introduce yourselves, say hello, and talk about chatting with everyone on the call. Yeah.
Thanks, Sam. I'll go first, I guess. Jessica's on mute, so I beat you to the mute button, I think. My name's Kirk Grayson, and I'm with the Maple Ridge Climate Hub, and we're one of several climate hubs across the Lower Mainland, and in fact, across Canada. So we really want to welcome everybody and thank you, Sam and Ellie, so much for tonight's presentation. You're right, it was a lot of information, but very, very useful. And I think a lot of us are very focused on how we can adapt to, what seems to be, I hate to say our new normal, but certainly, I mean, an air conditioner was not in my vision for something that I thought I needed to have, even as recently as when we were discussing having this session. And I was really focused more on getting a heat pump to replace our furnace. But clearly it's become something that we have to attend to all year round. So really thinking that the heat pump is the way to go. And for those of us who are concerned about climate impacts, talking about just how incredibly energy efficient they are is really, really inspiring. So thanks very much. And I just want to say for everybody, if you would like to reach out to us and keep in touch with, we'll be offering more. We'll be offering another one of these in the fall, but also we, regularly communicate about opportunities that there are to stay in touch with just other things that we can do to be proactive and on climate action, and sometimes even exert a little bit of political pressure. So you can find us on the Maple Ridge Climate Hub website and subscribe to our newsletter, or just reach out to us. Maybe what I'll do is put our email address in the chat in case anybody wants to chat. So thanks.
Great. Thanks, Kirk. I'm not going to add too much to what Kirk had to say because she covered things very nicely. But my name is Jessica McElroy, and I work as the regional organizer for the Community Climate Hub initiative in the Lower Mainland and Vancouver Island region. So Kirk's hub was in my region, and that's where we work together. So you may have noticed a box when you signed up asking about whether you needed or wanted more information about community climate hubs, and that would come to me, and I would be able to connect you with a climate hub that might exist in your region, or potentially setting up a new one if there isn't one in your region. So we can connect afterwards, and I'll put my email in the chat as well. And as Kirk mentioned, the climate hubs do a lot of work locally within their region or within their community and across the region on trying to advance a lot of these different climate actions with their local governments and with their community members.
Thank you, Kirk and Jessica. That was great. What I'll do now is end the recording, and we'll leave the opportunity for everyone to ask questions if need be.